visions of life. I fucking made it. Like Frank Sinatra, it was self-orchestrated. I loved and hated, I rushed and I waited. My own narrative, unplugged and unrated. It's dark, and I can finally see what it's like to be human and what it's like not to be detached. But I don't want you to leave. I have no faith or religion, but God in us I believe. Just breathe and blow the smoke in the air. I mix it all up in order, they calling me solitaire. Beware, beware. Me llaman el alquimista. Eu llegó con somente você mi protagonista.
So we're testing.
So I'm testing my side. Yo, yo, yo. Say something.
Does my side make any sound? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It sounds
Alright, wonderful.
Nice and clear. So, what should we talk about today?
Well, I think we should just talk. You know?
The crystal generation?
Yeah. The crystal generation. The pussy generation.
What's the official name? Is it the crystal generation? Is it like the fairy generation?
No, I thought it was centennials, isn't it?
Centennials?
Yeah. Or boomers? What are they? Isn't
No,
it?
because boomers is like baby boomers. That was way before.
Who are the baby boomers? Which ones are those? I want to get that clear.
The baby boomers are the ones like after the war. After World War I.
After World War One?
Yeah.
Those are baby boomers?
Yeah.
Aren't there new boomers? There's like these new boomer breed that I've seen that they're very like research it
So
right now.
like new boomers?
Yeah, well, who are the new boomers?
The new boomers generation. Okay.
There it is.
Wait.
Yeah, there you go.
What is this?
What is that? Read that.
It was updated April 25th, 2016 to reflect the changing population. Under the headline, Millennials overtake baby boomers as America's largest generation. This reflected the center's definition of millennials at the time, born between 1981 and 1997.
Those are boomers?
Seems like it.
So I'm a boomer? I guess.
This reflected the center's... What? So what, it's spread out to millennials? No, I'm a millennial. What do you mean?
That's what I thought. I thought I was a millennial.
What's the pronoun for that?
I don't know if there is one, bro.
Look, nah, baby boomers is... No, so wait, baby boomers 1944 to 1964. Then Generation X, right, which is a hard-working motherfuckers, 41 to 55 years old right now.
Oh, gotcha.
Between 65 to 79. Then Gen Y are the millennials, which were born between 1980 and 1994. Currently between 26 and 40 years old, right? Pretty accurate.
Right.
Says Generation Y.1 equals 21 to 29 years old. Generation Y.2, 39 years old. 42 million people in the U.S.
So we're Y?
Yeah, millennials.
Oh, okay,
Generation
gotcha.
Z is the newest generation to be named and were born between 1955 and 2015. They were currently between 5 to 25 years old, yeah. Nearly 74 million of these dipshits. Jesus Christ.
And those are the ones we have to worry about, right? Generation Z? Are those the ones coming up with all the pronouns? Yeah, right.
I think, Generation Z. Yeah, they're like 20, they're between 5 years old to 25 years old. So of course they're just barely going into school. They're barely understanding life on a digital standpoint because they've never really lived life themselves, you know.
Right. Yeah. Plus, yeah. Nowadays, everything is digital. Everyone's online. Everything you're learning and experiences. Nobody's getting out there in the real world.
Yeah, no. Like I see that with my son because like, dude, like we have a big TV, right? And I remember when I was a little kid. We had one of those TVs that you had to hit it, you had to smack it so that it would work and it would catch signal. Right, this big hard box TV.
One of those big button ones. Yeah. You have to turn the buttons.
And when I got to the States, I remember I saw a friend and he had a ginormous TV, but it also had a big ass butt, right? But it was ginormous. It was a flat screen. But I didn't have my first flat screen, dude, until I was 22 years old, bro. That was what? 2012? Yeah, give or take. 2012, 2013, I bought my first TV. And then, my realization there is, for example, my son, he's watching Pocoyo and all these other crazy little cool instructional educational cartoons on a big-ass smart TV, right?
Right.
And he gets captivated by it. So you kind of start wondering, does this change their brain patterns in some way? Does it change the way that they think and that they're brought up? He's already looking for the controller. If he doesn't like something, he starts going like, yeah. Like, change it. It's like, dude, I didn't even watch. I don't have consciousness of watching TV until I was like 7 years old.
But I think they're aware of their options. I think like babies are really smart, bro, and I think that they're aware of the options that they have. Maybe
they are.
you know?
But for example, he's been introduced to a cell phone already, into
Right.
like I have this laptop that's like a slim yoga laptop that you fold it into a big ass tablet.
Okay.
We downloaded this game called Piano Games or Kids Games, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
And he starts hitting it with his hands, looking at the lights, following the lights. So there's one with like fireworks, and he
Right.
just starts like putting his hand on the phone, feeling vibration, and seeing lights.
Right.
And he enjoys the hell out of it, right? So
Right.
we were not born with that. We were born just like grabbing the floor and eating
I think
dirt.
that's
you know?
probably dangerous too, right? Because you know how they make us addicted to like Facebook by creating like psychologically making it in a way that we're always gonna get dopamine releases in our brain every time we
Right.
get likes, every time, so it becomes addictive. So in a way, maybe they're already trying to make kids addicted to these devices, you know, by making them in a way educational, but also, I mean, making it inevitable for them to interact with them. And
Right, because they're sensorial. Like, you'd be surprised. I remember when I first... Like, I wouldn't put anything for Jeremy until somebody from Europe recommended, like, hey, put this sensorial show.
Right.
And the sensorial show is basically like a black screen and just animals or fruits, very colorful, moving. So he would be captivated by the colorful movement, right? But he wouldn't really make sense of it. Now they have other ones, which is like a white background and also colors and whatever. So I do think they are making them to captivate him, and I think they're preying on our generation as parents, right? Because we're so tired, we're overworked, you know, we're working 40, 45 hours a week.
Not only overworked and we don't have time, but I think we're also the generation that's already addicted to this, right? So it's
Right.
just easy because it's already in our homes. You have a
sense.
tablet, you have 2 phones, you have a big ass smart TV. Like, your kid's surrounded by it.
That makes sense.
And if you look at these like technology gurus, they always limit the time that they let their kids use technology, and they're very minimalistic in the way that they live. They stay away from so much technology. So I mean, I think there's a really unhealthy aspect to it that we don't see, and that we're letting our kids grow into. And it's probably why this part of this is happening. Like you said, your kid, he's already whining when he doesn't get the show he wants,
Right.
because he knows that he has that option. You can put that show whenever, Dad. Why don't you put it on now?
Right.
Right? Before, it was just, you never even got the chance to
you didn't
even
have
see
to,
that
yeah.
show.
It was like a radio.
Yeah. So it wasn't even an option. So
Yeah, it was random. It was basically on time, right? Like, we would know at 6 p.m. Dragon Ball Z was
Yeah.
coming on, right? And you would just wait for 6 p.m. or like The Simpsons were coming on at 10 in the morning or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like I got it all under control, so I do understand, and I feel like there is some risk and danger to that. I wonder what it is.
Well,
Because we were born so differently, we were raised so differently. I remember when I was 7 years old, I used to want to think I was Goku. And I broke a wall. I kicked the wall open. Like, I was like, ah! And I kicked the wall open in my, like, you know, in my apartment complex. And then they came and told my mom, like, hey, your son, you know, broke a wall. And I was so happy that I broke the wall.
Right.
And of course, I didn't understand my
felt
mom
like
had to
Goku.
go and pay the wall because I felt like Goku.
right.
Right? I don't know how my son feels like now. Like a colorful little thing jumping around. You know? Because
Yeah.
the cartoons are different, too.
Right.
Like, before, cartoons were there's blood, there was fighting, you know, there's action, there's martial arts, there's
Right.
movement, there's mind. Now it's just like, you know, Dora the Explorer.
Well, that's considered toxic masculinity, right? When they're in a cartoon, like, there's fighting and there's too much maleness.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Because that's what it is right now. Like, everything in Disney, everything you're watching is a little more censored. There's a little less blood, a little less violence, a little less manliness, right?
for
A lot of
sure.
the main characters now are girls, and I'm not saying I disagree with that. That's okay, but sometimes you're putting girls in male roles. Like, I saw recently in Star Trek. I don't know if you've seen Star Trek, the one that's on Netflix right now.
No, I haven't.
I think it's Discovery, I believe, and I really love that show. It's a good show. But the main character is a girl. It's supposed to be Spock's sister. But I noticed that whenever there's a commander in the ship, they call them Sir, even if it's a girl.
Wow, really?
So now girls get to use sir as well. You have to direct yourself to a girl as a sir when she's in a position of power, not as ma'am. When the fuck did we lose that?
That's interesting.
Yeah, you haven't seen that on
No,
the
I
new
haven't
shows?
seen that. That's very
It's
interesting.
happening, dude.
So,
like, now we're-
because I'm thinking, wait, would that be inclusive? Because ultimately, I mean, as a male, you understand people want to fight for their rights. People want to fight because we've been oppressed, right? But what people don't tend to understand, at least in my opinion, is that we've been oppressed by the media, right? We are told a story. We all breathe, see, and hear a story coming from one wind, whether it's left or west or whatever the hell it is. We are all like bound to a particular story, and the media is what changes and narrates that story, right?
Right.
So it's like, if you're a woman and you want to achieve these things that men can or have achieved, it's like, of course, it's not an achievement of man, the species. It's an achievement of mankind, right?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be separated by sex. It's just an achievement overall. And and in my opinion, like, if you're willing to go ahead and achieve something at a scale of universal, right? Like going onto the moon, or I don't know, walking on Mars and actually taking pictures with a weird, freaking smartphone from Huawei or Xiaomi,
right.
and you're a woman and you're walking in Mars, that's fucking awesome. But it doesn't matter if you're a woman. It's, in my opinion, that's success and that's progress for humanity itself, right?
Right.
Now, then we're talking also like gender roles, because there are particular roles through biology, in my opinion. Through biology, as it was, and as I've read about it, and again, what we read is also mandated by the story that we're told to be, I guess, under. We're also told that men used to be hunters, right? And women were gatherers, and they were nurturers. And the men would go out fasted, hungry, go out and kill the lion, go out and kill the elephant, go out and kill, whatever it was, the animal that they're looking to eat.
Right.
Wait, go back 3 days, hungry as hell, and then they feast while the woman takes care of that man, takes care of the kids, takes care of the home, right?
Right.
It was, and also in war, right? Men started out killing each other for another man's greed, and women went to war as nurses.
Yeah.
Right? They were caring for the men that were dying for their beliefs, whether they were right or wrong.
Right.
Right? So it's like, we also have these roles, but it feels like people don't want to be bound by these roles. Like, my emotions are more powerful than these roles. You know? If I get into a fight and my husband is right there and I'm a woman, I want to beat up the bad guys because I'm the woman and I can.
Right. Or he shouldn't jump into a position of protecting me, because why should he? Right, we're both equal, sort of.
Right.
Right.
I can protect myself. Right.
Right. Which is completely retarded, right? Like, especially in a real world. And I think that's the main issue, is that we no longer live in the real world.
Exactly.
This is not the real world anymore. The real world is when you move to the woods, right? And you live there, and you have to kind of figure out how to keep yourself warm and how to bring water to yourself, and everything that has to do with keeping yourself alive. Right? That's the real world. Right now we live in this fantasy world, and I call it fantasy world because at any moment, like, a solar flare could end it. Right? We're so dependent on, like, technology and the lights being on.
Right.
Right? That, like, if the lights were really completely off and no power plants worked, water would never get to your home. Right? Because at some point there needs to be, like, an electric plant pushing that, right, to everyone's home. Right? So since we're completely dependent on everything now, and now this generation, like, has this dependency on, like, society agreeing with them, right?
Yeah. Agreeing with their emotions, not agreeing with their thoughts, which is different.
Well, in a way, they're supposed to be connected, even though their thoughts aren't clear, which is what's fucking disgusting about it.
Right.
Because when you disagree with it, they get mad, but when you want to be clear about it and have a conversation, they don't want to engage into that because it's offensive, first of all, or you're mansplaining or whatever, or you just get into a bunch of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Especially dude, it's just I don't know what happened to the emotions. Like, we used to be such a tough species, and I feel like everything lately has been set out to separate us, and people just don't think, right? People just see and observe, and then they get fed through this mob emotional state, right? This crowd mass psychology, where it's like, I believe for something I don't understand. I remember I had a conversation once. Remember Danny? And it's like she supports feminists, right? And I try to have conversations with several feminists because I love conversation, right? Like, I love debate, and I want to hear your point of view about what's going on and what it is that you're trying to prove, right? I remember we had a conversation where we almost cried,
right?
Because it's like it's to the point where you're questioning life. You're questioning biology, and this separation is going to separate us from our own biology of procreating, right?
Right.
We're going to hate each other. We're going to become asexual. We're going to start fucking robots with people's AI voices.
Yeah.
You know? And then people are just going to get away from other people. There's going to be no more humans being created. Who's going to control the mandate? It's like that movie. What's it like? No Country for Men or something like that?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where having a baby would be one of the most amazing, miraculous situations where we already live that every day, but we see it as one of the most evil things, right? You look at social media.
I'm not sure anymore if we're talking about the same movie, but go ahead.
There's this movie where it's like this lady, she was the last pregnant woman.
Oh no, never mind. I'm talking about a different one. But
Yeah, it might be a different one. She was like the last pregnant woman, and they couldn't, and that baby couldn't be born, right? Like women could not be allowed to be pregnant.
Okay.
To that point. And it kind of is gonna go to that sense, I feel like, right? Like kind of like a premonition.
Well, I think women are no longer want to be pregnant.
Right.
That's the fucked up part.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not going to be allowed. Eventually, it's not going to be allowed, right? Eventually, like a normal biological pregnancy is going to be illegal because of the risks, right? Because we're going to be even more babied and more spoiled by science and all the shit that surrounds us. But, you know, I think in the end, like, the only way that there's going to be a kickback is if society, if shit hits the fan. Because this is only natural. There was an experiment done. I forgot who did this experiment. I'll probably bring the information for the next podcast. But it was done with rats.
Yeah, the rats. Yeah, I saw that.
It was so crazy because the result was exactly the same. Where I'm just going to explain it, Bailey, for whoever's listening. Where you put female and male rats in a perfect environment. Where they have food, they have perfect nesting materials, they have everything they need to live in prosperity.
Yeah,
and procreate. And eventually, when they get overpopulated and there's no more fucking room for them to be, there's just this natural aggression that starts occurring within everyone, right? And men no longer want to take this responsibility of having to care for the females, so they no longer take care of the females. The females get excluded, so they build groups of females where they're just away from the males. Eventually they become aggressive towards the males.
I think to the point of killing their own children, right?
Eventually they start killing their own babies. Eventually there's one rat left and it's done with, you know? So he did the experiment 3 times and it was all 3 times it was the same result. Yeah. So it's weird how we're exactly just like that mammal. Like if we get away from looking at all the reasoning behind the LGBT movement and all the shit that's happening in the world right now, and we just look at it from like an animal perspective, that's all we are.
Yeah, we are. That's what we are.
That's all we think we're reasoning it, and maybe we're not.
We're not. It's totally an emotional response. Yeah. Like right now, our limbic system, I feel like it's being hijacked. Right, we have the amygdala inside our limbic, right, and the amygdala is what causes that fight or flight response or that freeze response, right, where you're completely hijacked by the amygdala and you don't know what to do. You're frozen. That's when some people have gotten so angry that they get blinded and they don't remember what happened. Right? Have you heard those cases?
Yeah, I am actually very attuned to these situations.
Right.
I actually stay away from drinking due to this.
There you go. Right, and it makes sense, right? Because it's like it just takes over you, and you blind yourself, and you go into the survival mode, and it's either me or the other threat, right? So what I feel about these movements, it's like it's not a movement for the human race, right? It's a movement for a minority, and I believe all minorities should be respected, right, in a sense, but we don't need to give out awards for you calling yourself out a minority on what you emotionally feel that you should be entitled to, because it changes society, right? Like I was telling my girl, I have a son, right? I don't know what's gonna happen along the years, right? Maybe my son goes to a school and they have a lot of pro-pride situations, and he might get, there's just a lot of that same media out there that he can
gay
be exposed
pride situations.
to. Yeah,
just say it, bro.
Yeah, gay
just
pride. No, but the thing is, it's not just gay. It's like everything, bro.
Oh, okay.
It's all the spectrums of pride, right? You fuck a panda, pride, right?
Oh.
Everything is, I'm proud because I'm different, right? Because now we want to stick out because we're different. We're different, and I'm allowed to be different, but I want you to clap for me because I'm different, right? Which is not acceptable, in my opinion, because you're changing a society. You're changing an entire biological code.
You being different doesn't make you special. It might even make you a fucking problem, right? So let's not, right? Why are we taking it away from a reality? Like they compare it to hermaphrodites, right? Because they want LGBT movement want to say, what about hermaphrodites? Well, that's a natural situation, and it's very fucking unfortunate. Yeah. I don't think anyone enjoys being born with a big dick, or and a little useless vagina, right? or a normal vagina and a giant clitoris, right? It's like that's very uncomfortable. You're officially a freak. Now you have to become a part of the freaks.
Right.
Right.
Now I'm gonna be proud.
Right. So they want to. Okay. So why do you have to be a freak, bro? That's the way it is because it's unfortunate biology. Right. If I'm born with fucking 12 fingers, I'm a freak.
Right. It's mutation.
I'm a freak, and it is an unfortunate experience that I'm gonna live in this life. Hopefully, people are nice to me. Right. But hey, guess what? If I'm ugly, people are gonna treat me like shit.
They
right?
are, because ultimately people are scared of things that are different to them, right? What is rapport, right? When working in the call center industry, bro, like everything's like rapport. Treat somebody like if they were like you, right? Put like if they were in your shoes or whatever, right? And then they mix this up with empathy, and it's like people who are like themselves and who are like how they would like to be, right? This is an all individual perspective, so it's like I want to be accepted. Right? By all means possible. Regardless if I'm a rapist, I'm different.
Yeah.
So I want to be around people that are like me.
There's a movement.
Right? I want to be like around people that are like me.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and create a cult of rapists. Right? And now let's create a movement where it's okay for me to rape people because I have an emotional necessity to rape people.
Right. I have a mental issue and it's not my fault.
Right, because I cannot take consent, right? Like if the person's like, oh, you're so sexy, I love your dick, fuck me. I'm like, no, bitch. No, bitch. Turn the fuck around. I'm gonna rape you. Scream. Because otherwise I'm not gonna get hard. I want to create a movement around that.
Right.
And I want to be accepted.
Around the fetish of rape. Right. I mean, create a movement around the fetish of rape. Yeah.
And I want to be accepted.
Or pedophilia. You know what's fucked up? You mentioned that, the pedophilia one, because there is a movement, and I forgot what it's called. I don't know.
It's called MAP.
MAP. Mm-hmm. What the fuck, dude? I don't even know if it's real. Like, I want to do some more research into it because I want to find out how real it is. Who the fuck is funding MAP? Because it's crazy. And the flag they use, the colors they use are normally colors that you would see on like baby toys or like baby clothes, things like that.
It's kind of like the Pizzagate situation. Like all this has been a very revealing year. In very different situations that we don't understand, right? And I remember today, my girl, we're listening to songs where they talk about omerta, right? And like omerta is like a pact. It's a code, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, why would they say that in a song? You know, like, because I used to sell drugs.
Right.
I used to sell drugs in front of cops.
Right. By the way, for whoever doesn't know what omerta is, I think I'm gonna say it right. Whoever appeals to the law against his fellow man is either a fool or a coward.
Right.
Whoever cannot take care of himself without that law is both. For wounded man shall say to his assailant, if I live, I should kill you. If I die, you're forgiven. Such is the rule of honor. I believe that's omerta, right?
Along the lines, okay. Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not 100% sure either of the code itself, but it's like I was explaining what it was referring to, and she was like, "Why is this so up in everyone's face?" And I was like, "Because it makes it not obvious. We are blind to how blind we are. So when I would make drug deals in front of cops, it's because they would never expect it." Right. They would be like, this cannot be happening. It does. People believe in consistency, right? Yeah. And consistency and personality and all this shit. So it's like somebody doing a drug deal outside of a police, office or department. It's not consistent with my beliefs. Yeah. So therefore, I'm blind to it. Yeah. So it's like that's why. It's like no, there's no way they're putting this out there. There's no way they're telling us this is what they're doing. It's just not consistent with my beliefs. Yeah. Normally, the way that we find out fishy shit is we got to go through somebody's phone and see that they cheated on me because there's a text message and it was hidden and I didn't have their password. Right. But if you have the password and everything's open, you don't even feel inclined to look at the other person's phone.
You don't. Well, that's human nature, right? When you're restricted, you want to go forward.
Exactly, right? Because when there's crime, when there's law, there's crime.
Right. Well, I mean, there still has to be law to a certain extent, right? I mean, I think there has to be because there's too many variables of people, and but law is natural, right? I mean, under a large society, we would all take care of our kids, we would all take care of our properties, right? I think it's very like when people say, "What would you do without the police?" Right? Because I agree with defunding the fucking police, even if the shit hits the fan for a little bit, because we gotta reform this shit. Right. Like in the world, like even here in my country, in the U.S., police is abusive everywhere, bro.
There are, but here's something that I believe, which could be a very stupid belief, right? But I feel like law could be separated from rules, right? Why? Because we have very strong social rules, very strong social contracts, which are not communicated, they're not written down, but we abide by them almost 100% of the time. Here's an example: red light, yellow light, green light. right? We all abide by that rule that if you're gonna cross the street, look at the light. Why? Because it's meant to keep us safe, right? And it's a social consensus where we're like, lights everywhere in the world, mostly that I have seen from culture, they have some sort of traffic light system that people follow to keep themselves alive. Because if you cross the street with your eyes closed,
you're fucked.
Yeah, there's a very high probability that you're gonna die.
Or not even with your eyes closed. If you didn't have those traffic lights, right, people would just keep going, right? And there would be a lot of collisions on intersections.
Right, for sure. But I feel like those things are just, like, very... It's different to law because we don't know law. We have to study law. People spend 7 years studying law. Do you get me? Law is not common to the society. We don't know what is law. We have an idea of this is right and this is wrong. If I steal or if I hurt or whatever, it's right or wrong. We have some sort of a morale code, right? But then somebody's like, oh, under law, whatever. I don't know what the fuck that is, right? And then you have our cops. Our cops study law for about 6 months, and then they go punish you for not following the law that a lawyer studied 7 years to understand.
Man, they don't even know the law because they studied it for 6 months.
Exactly, they studied it for 6 months. They have no idea. And they're trying to enforce the law that we don't understand either. Yeah. But I understand if I cross the street and it's a red light, I'm going to die.
Right, but I think that those laws still have to exist by law. I think it's your responsibility as a citizen to inform yourself what those laws are. Like, I don't think we should be claiming, like, I'm guilty of this myself. I've been stopped by cops, and I know they're doing illegal shit, but I find out afterwards, right? Okay. Right, I tell somebody about the procedure they followed, and they go, dude, that was completely fucking, they cannot do that, right? But that's my fault.
True that.
Right? In a way, that's my fault, because if I know what the procedure should be, if I'm going to be riding a motorcycle through the city, I need to learn the laws around that, right? It's unfortunate that I can't trust the police to follow that guideline, but that's the fucking unfortunate truth, right? And I'm not going to be like a fucking millennial and go, oh no, they're dishonest. People are always going to be dishonest, bro, especially if they give cops quotas.
Yeah,
they give cops quotas, so they need to stop a certain amount of people and give them tickets, right?
They do, just like people, they have key performance indicators, right?
Right. So they need to be dishonest up to a certain extent, especially if they haven't hit their indicators.
Right.
So I mean, it's just a clusterfuck completely. I think if we defunded the police, at least for a little bit, at least until they get the point that they do work for us, not for the fucking government. Because right now there's this confusion, right?
There is.
Whenever there's world protests, and I think the whole world could agree right now, because 2019 was nothing but world protests,
right?
Where people were going out, everyone's protesting, and you see your own cops,
global outbreak,
your own cops, the ones that live across the street from you, right, or that are your same race or whatever, they're ready to shoot people, right, with gas canisters or however the fuck they're ready to control the masses. Why? You know, it's usually in peaceful protests too. I know there's violent protests, and that's shit, right, and that's, you know, usually a piece of shit, but in peaceful protests, I've seen that shit. And here in Colombia too, where people are just peaceful and they start throwing gas canisters to make people go off.
The thing is, like, it's what I was telling you, and you're right. They feel like they work for a bigger institution than the actual people, right? And then the other side is that people are scared of people that are different to them. People have this aversion to people that are different, regardless. Like, I was having this conversation. It wasn't even a conversation because people don't have conversations no more. There's a friend talking about Black Lives Matter, right? When I brought up a statement where I was like, look, I understand, right? I understand the pain. The first people that understood me when I went to the States were black people. I was a minority, right? I'm Latino. I'm a minority. The white people don't like me. I didn't like the other Latinos because they were complaining, and the only people doing something were the black people, right? So they were playing basketball. They were doing something. They were rapping. I was seeing them doing something in the world in my inexperienced 8-year-old mind.
Right.
And I just shifted toward the black community, right? I grew up with black people. That's where I get all my ghetto-ness from. That's where I get all this different perspective because people have suffered, right? And when you suffer, you learn most of the time.
Right.
And I had this discussion with this guy, and I was like, dude, I understand the pain, right? I probably have felt more pain than you. You graduated college, right? You had that opportunity.
Right.
I didn't have that opportunity. When my mom asked, hey, you know, like for my son to go to college, oh, there's an out-of-state tuition of $2,000 when our rent was $1,500 and my mom was making like $1,600.
Yeah.
Right? We were barely eating.
Plus, you didn't have a dad.
I didn't have a dad.
One of the biggest success factors in a man's life is having both parents together throughout while they're being raised. That's one of the biggest factors.
So I didn't have my dad. And I'm like, you went to college, you bought a house. I'm over here saving money, paycheck through paycheck, to be able to do that. And you're black. Right? So it's like, it's not about, like, yeah, I support that. Dude, fuck getting harassed by cops. Fuck that. Whatever color you are. But people need to understand that this is a separation. Like, this is a social separation. Because in my belief, all living organisms matter. Right? And I'm guilty of this, bro. I used to be scared of spiders or bugs, or let alone imagine the women that see a cucaracha, right, a cockroach,
right,
and they're like, oh my god, and what do? It dies. The cucaracha dies. Why? Because it's a strange thing that we don't understand, and we perceive it as a threat, even if it's 1 inch big.
Right. Well, the roaches are fucking disgusting. They're
disgusting, but still,
right?
Still, dude, we produce shit.
Yeah, but we don't shit like and then step on our pillows and shit.
So do you think that a cockroach doesn't have the opportunity? A cockroach's life matters less.
I think if you shit and step on your pillows, you deserve to die. Of dysentery, at least.
Do you think cockroaches deserve to die?
I don't think they deserve to die, but I think it's a natural response for us to want to get away from our clean space, right? Because they bring. Bring a lot of bacteria from outside. We created
that environment for them to come and be called home.
Right.
With our own filth. Yeah. So they're just following their nature.
Of course.
Well, we're not cleaning up ours.
Yeah.
Right? But then we blame the cockroach and we kill it.
Yeah.
But this happens in all colors, all sizes,
I can. You know what? I'm
races.
gonna try to see this with spiders, because the thing about cockroaches is I feel like they're a nasty invader.
Fine,
spiders get rid of cockroaches. Spiders get rid of a lot of insects.
They get rid of flies and whatever. So you come in and you see a spider, and I used to be a culprit that I'm scared of spiders, bro. And I would be scared of killing it, but it had to die.
Right.
Why? Because in my thought, in my mind, I'm like, that motherfucker, if I don't kill it, it's gonna reproduce. It's gonna reproduce and it's gonna create more niggers. Right? Do you understand my point?
Okay, wow.
Do you get my crazy point? Right?
Wow, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to create more spiders.
Off the rails right now.
It's going to create more spiders.
All right, gotcha.
Which means it might be more scary for me to actually approach that situation. But it's my own fear. It's not that the spider's going to do something to me. It's following its own nature. Yeah. It's creating its webs to catch the things that need to be caught for it to survive in its own habitat. Right. But I'm killing it because I don't understand it.
In this sense, you're talking about the cops killing black people in the U.S. systemically, or...
Dude, we kill anything we don't understand.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're afraid of it. Like, if you look at Iraq, Afghanistan, all these fucking people that have been under war for years, do their lives not matter?
Yeah, of course they do.
You know, like Syria. I see videos and like crazy shit that we get exposed to there. Do their lives not matter because they're not black? Yeah. You see how it separates it?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, I understand the Black Lives Matter movement, bro. I love black people. I was married to a fucking black woman for 6 years. It's not about the fucking color. The color is an adaptation to pigmentation, as we learned, right? From the sun pigmentation.
Right.
So it's like, it has nothing to do with that. But we tend to think, oh, it's a different species, right? We look at Chinese people. At Asians, because we confuse them all, right?
Right.
Like Japanese and Asians, like, they're all the fucking same, and we look at them like, what is our perceived notion?
Of an Asian?
Yeah.
Dog eating, fucking short, bad. No, I'm just kidding. But my perceived notion of an Asian generally is highly educated, overly disciplined, and when I say overly, to the point of depression, because they suffer from that over there. If I see a poor Asian, if it's Filipino, I'm most likely going to think he eats dogs. But
bats.
Huh?
Right, bats,
Right, they probably have a weird diet, right? And I'm probably not wrong. I might be, though, if he was raised in America.
I had an ex-boss that went to the Philippines. Several ex-bosses actually went to the Philippines for business. And they had, like, bat meat and stuff on burgers and, like, Burger Kings.
Yeah.
Like chain, like, big franchise names adapting to their culture because that's what they do. But what do we look at them as? That's fucking weird. Right? But then again, we go ahead and kill a fucking rabbit, but that's not weird. Right?
Right. That's true. There's a real double standard when it comes to that, like what you can kill.
So then we look at them as inferior.
The thing is though, experimenting with so many different type of food sources can cause issues. right? Especially if you're like keeping them, and like that's where this whole coronavirus
Right.
issue stemming from. They said that it came from that market, even though I am the conspiracy theorist type that
Right.
I believe this shit came from a fucking laboratory and they're trying to control us with it. But let's not get into that. I think that it could be risky to like be eating so many different type of food sources without.
Right, and that's fine, but check it out. And that's totally
Right,
fine.
especially
right?
nowadays where people travel so much, right?
Yeah.
Before, let's say a tribe would mess with a specific food source, that whole tribe could die. And that used to happen, right? If somebody explored a different area, came back to the tribe with a disease, he would kill everyone in the fucking tribe, right? So in order to avoid that type of shit, we might want to stay away from shit that we know, we shouldn't...
But here's the thing, you don't know. Have you eaten bat?
No, I haven't.
Right?
I
Neither have I. I'm not saying that I have.
Would I eat bat? Probably would. I probably would.
You probably would to experience something
Right,
different, right? But
right.
here's the thing is that
Right.
these civilizations have eaten all types of foods for millennia.
Right.
We have too. For us, it's like, what? How are they eating a bat when I have chicken tenders? They must be not civilized. They must not deserve to live. Right? They must be crazy. They must be going in war and they don't like us.
Right.
Right? And we're in danger because they eat bats.
Right.
So then that's where this whole separation comes from. It just comes from not understanding.
I think it's just natural. I think it's just a natural power struggle between nations or races. Sometimes I don't know how to see it because it's like it's obvious that the white man, right? And I have nothing against white people, but the white man in general, at least on this side of the world, has been the one that's ruled it, right? Since we got colonized and that's natural. And if we had the power, right? If we were the ones on top, I think we would be the ones maybe lobbying and oppressing and doing fucked up shit, right? Like the Americans or...
Yeah. I mean, you would think about the elitists, right? And how you would, maintain that power and control people to have them at edge so you could somewhat have an advantage.
Right.
Like, I could see that happening too, Like, I think that's in 1984. I think they pushed that as a possibility. Where you overthrow the military and then what happens after? How do you create order?
Right. After you do need the military on your side to create.
But people are like just gonna overthrow it because it's evil. But then again, what happens after? How do you control the evil after?
Yeah.
So it's like this.
That's the thing is these kids are non-realistic. Those ideas are coming from colleges and places that don't have to suffer war. Right, they don't have to suffer deaths. They don't have to go to war. Right, they're not getting drafted.
These motherfuckers have a gender class, don't they? They have a gender class.
Yeah.
Who the fuck has a gender class?
Yeah, a gender class, right? Like, first of all, in war, when the fuck would you have time for a gender class in the middle of war? And war's not going to stop existing. They're acting like if we get rid of the military...
in war, everybody's included.
War is going to stop existing.
In war, everybody's included.
Yeah, and a lot of these Asian countries don't even fall for this Western bullshit. This is a Western idea.
Yeah.
You know what happened to the Mongols, right? Story of the Mongols?
Right.
Mongols were people that had to kill rats and build themselves like furs off of rat pelts, right? You're talking about the worst of survival, right? And then they became such savages that with armies of 30, 40 motherfuckers, they would get rid of hundreds, even thousands, right? Because they were just so savage and well-trained and ready for war, right? And they took over many empires through this process, right? Because they were fucking savages. And they became very prosperous people. And they built a very prosperous nation through the savagery, right? Then... I have to get my story straight, but I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. Basically, the new generation came around, and the new generation was wealthy because the new Mongols were very wealthy. Right? Because they had all these riches, and these kids never had to experience the war that their grandparents experienced. Right? Their grandparents were savages that used to wear rat pelts, right? And eat rats and fucking go into villages and raid until they... Right? These kids, they were born into gold already. So they were very weak-minded and very weak-charactered. Guess what happened? They got taken over by the next monster. And that's exactly what's going to happen to the Western world. And it's what's fucking happening is we're becoming this weak little fucking society. And we're just waiting for the chinks to come in and take us over. I'm sorry to say it that way. But Chinese people do want to take over this shit. World economies, right? And... I mean, I don't like the American government very much, but I would prefer that over the Chinese ruling us.
Yeah, because I agree with you, and I've thought about that because it's kind of scary, the level of control that they have over their population, you know?
Yeah.
Like the level of monitoring, and that's what we're going for, but that's what people don't understand. People that are willing to, you know, exchange their freedom for security. And these people are just saying, yeah, you know, we're going to put these 5G towers and stuff, and it's going to make your downloads better. And like, yeah, great, bro, I love it. I can stream faster, I can play Call of Duty, I can get on Twitch and whatever. But what are they doing for that also?
Yeah.
They're going to look at our faces, get facial recognition, and make sure you're wearing a mask, and get temperatures. So nowadays, it's like, I remember I used to have fevers, and a fever was just a fucking fever. Now a fever is COVID.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Everything's fucking COVID. So then now you're a threat. And then if we allow this to happen, they can go into your house, take your family member because he's red on the fucking scope that you don't see, and the motherfucker's gone just because he might have been a revolutionary.
Right, because he maybe made a comment online and he shouldn't have made it, and that's how they're going to start getting rid of people that are making the wrong comments online, is they're going to start claiming fevers and shit like that.
Exactly.
That's what's probably going to take place, man. And I hate the fact that people, you know, let's talk about Colombia, right? Because we live here, right? People here don't trust the government. We know that our government is completely corrupt.
Right.
We know that our government has killed the thousands, if not millions of us through war to justify war crimes and shit like that. We know that our politicians are fucking narco dealers, right? And even though we know all this, we still watch the news and we see these motherfuckers come up on the news talking about how they want to keep us safe and this is all about the security of our nation, and we believe them.
Right. Exactly.
So what? I don't understand where our brains. Care about lives. Right, where are our brains at? Exactly. I don't understand it, bro. It's really.
I have the same question. Like, now they care about lives. When we seen my dad died because of the FARC.
Right.
Like, I'm still waiting for the fucking, you know, repairment or whatever the fuck they call it. It's been fucking 9 years already? About to be 10 years?
Yeah.
He was killed because he was a mayor. He was going into mayor office for the second time. He didn't want to play with the FARC. He got killed.
Yep.
Right? And now it's like, oh yeah, 2 people died. This is COVID. This is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
It's like, 100 more deaths. It's like, dude, there's 102 deaths in car accidents.
Not only that, but it's been on the news, the public news, that the numbers are being inflated. It's been explained. And I'm not talking about conspiracy channels. I'm talking about fucking public news. The main channels are telling us that the numbers are being inflated. Yet, they come out and tell us 5 billion people died, and we believe them. It's really strange how people's minds work, where I don't know what it is, bro. I think it's a lack of personality or a lack of character, where they don't think for themselves anymore and they just agree with whatever that person in power says, even if they're contradicting themselves.
Right, because that's the collective right now, right? That's the collective energy. Even with people that are sentient and conscious. Like, I've had conversations with people that I thought were very conscious that are like, no, but I don't want to spread it. I'm like, dude, if you're conscious and this is real, you gotta spread it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how we get herd immunity.
You need to get
That's what they used to do with kids. That's what they did with my son when he was 2 months old. Shot. Because you need to get exposed to this fucking sickness.
Exactly.
Which was awful. We hated it. He was sick for fucking 8 days. Right? Next 4 months, he gets the shot again. He was sick for 2 days. He developed some sort of strength. This is great. Right? Now we're about to go to the other shot because it's about to be 6 months. Yeah. And that sucks in like 5 days. Yeah. Right? And it's another shot. But hopefully it's like less. But he was exposed to those.
Right. Biologically, he's building antibodies, right? That's what the process is, right? But right now, there's just this movement against science, right? Because nobody's really studying science right now, right? Nobody's really going into that field. Now it's gender studies, right? So now it's just fucking confusion. So the future is just confusion and control, bro. Because like what's the saying? In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is the king. And everyone is fucking completely blind right now. So right now, you know what? In Nazi Germany, I'm sorry. Let me finish this thought. In Nazi Germany, when Hitler rose, it was a time of division and it was a time of crisis. And we have to really be careful with that. Because it's in times of division and times of crisis where that one motherfucker rises and manipulates the minds of the majority, which are a bunch of fucking retards. Because we know the majority are retarded. They don't think for themselves.
Commodity.
Right. They just agree with the leader, right? And that's when crazy genocides or wars can happen. That's what we could.
But then again, I've had these other thoughts of like, if this is all meant to happen, then in some sense it is some sort of like survival of the fittest, But it's also survival of the fittest and selected for me, in the sense that you may be fit, but you're just in the wrong place. And your government and your situation ain't gonna let you out. You know? Like, with this situation here, I can't go buy food today because today it's not my day on my ID.
Well, nowadays it's not about being fit. It's about being armed, right?
Right, yeah, for
Survival of the fittest used to work when it was giant,
for sure.
it was only swords, right? And whenever a giant motherfucker would get to your village with a giant sword, you're fucked because you're half his size.
Right.
You have half his reach and half his strength, right? But nowadays, it's more about who's armed. And I think that America is the last frontier because it's the last population to be armed.
Yep.
I think they're the last ones. I don't think anywhere in the world that there's anyone else that's armed. And wherever the weapons are taken away, complete control and authoritarianism takes place.
Of course.
And it's always like that.
You can't fight back.
Exactly.
You have no tools to fight back.
You're not fit. You're anymore.
Yeah, you're not fit anymore.
Exactly.
You have no way to be fit. You don't have that tool. You don't have leverage.
Exactly.
Right? Nowadays it's about leverage, and it's like technology leverage. It's the leverage of people. It's the leverage of a society. It's the leverage of where the economy shifts, right? But people think that they live their own lives and they're not part of these freaking social, power shifts.
Yeah.
People are just like, yeah, I got my TV and I have my job. I gotta stay at home, right? That's how I'm gonna feed my family. Stay at home, kids.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Don't take your kids to school, which I think in some sense that's a great idea. Just because school sucks in a degree, right?
Oh, well, I think school's necessary for the social aspect.
For the social aspect, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I was going, right? But like for the educational aspect, it's just way. Oh, I had my own experiences, dude. So 3 years ahead of my class, and my teacher goes like, "Hey, Juan, you have two choices. Either I move you 3 years ahead, or you come and sleep in class."
Yeah.
And then my dumb, 14-year-old ass was like, "I'm gonna go sleep in class. That's an option I have.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's what I'm gonna do.
That's
They used to tell me that you can stay or leave. I can leave. You can leave. Goodbye. I used to leave, walk out of the room, but yeah, it doesn't work.
But it's because like they want to put that social pressure on you, but it's like, dude, I have some sense of consciousness where I can think things through, right? Analyze them, and create some sort of judgment or action or thought about those things. But people don't slow down and have that intake. Like this analogy where people are pigs, because pigs don't chew, right? They just eat everything that goes through their fucking way. So that's the same way we are with all types of nutrition, whether it's visual nutrition, additive nutrition, right? Or like,
anything we intake. Anything
that we intake, we just eat like pigs. We don't look for further information. If somebody makes a very interesting post on Facebook that looks very alluding and and it agrees with your statement, you're not really going to look into it. Because it agrees with your statement, so you automatically assume that it's right.
Yeah.
And that's the generation we're at. And I think somebody said this years ago, where it's like in the age of information, ignorance is a choice.
Wow, who said that? Wow.
I don't remember.
Wow.
But I remember those words.
That's
forever.
wonderful. Let's look it up. Google that.
Hold on.
Wow, we need to find out who said that, because that's an amazing point right now, because it does seem to be a choice.
Yeah, look, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. I'm sorry, dude, I just have this crazy memory. And
yeah, I know, and I remember a lot of quotes like that too, where I don't remember who said it. The words stick to me because it just...
This was said by Mark Peterson, according to this. Brad Turnbull, according to this.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Now it's Donald Miller.
No, get the fuck out of here. That's the internet for you guys. You see?
Then Donald Miller.
And everyone right now, what is your source of information when you're going to look for something? Google. When you're going to look for stats, Google. We should be looking at FCC type shit of anyone that does stats, any kind of government agency, instead of going to fucking just Google.
Keep saying Donnie Miller. I guess Donnie Miller is the predominant one, right?
It's just, we have to find out who he is and why he said it. But it's definitely a good quote.
In the age of information, ignorance is a choice.
Definitely a good quote. And I think we could probably close on that.
Yeah. It says, so this is interesting. It's a quote from The Magic of Thinking Big. And it goes like, so the story is told that a great scientist, Einstein, was once asked how many feet are in a mile. Einstein's reply was, I don't know. Why should I fill my brain with facts I can find in 2 minutes in any standard reference book? Einstein taught us a big lesson. He felt it was more important to use your mind to think than to use it as a warehouse for facts. Wow. Very interesting. And I think that is something very powerful right now, where people are not being taught to think, but they're being taught what to think.
What to think, yeah, exactly.
And I think that's one of the biggest discussions I've had with my girl.
Well, right now, I think I've been watching the Crowder show, and I think in one of those, he's talking about how in schools right now, they're no longer teaching people the fact that they have the right of freedom of speech and the right of the Second Amendment and things like that. When I grew up in the States, and when I was there, in social studies, that was one of the main things that kept getting repeated. And even though I wasn't American and I had none of these rights, I learned all of them. And I almost felt like I had them, which is, I feel deceived right now in a way. But I grew up with this, right? I grew up with the Second Amendment and freedom of speech and having to go to Constitution. I failed the Constitution test, so they put me in like a special class so I could really go through the Constitution. And it was something that was getting imprinted in people's heads, the freedom that you have to think and to individuality.
Exactly.
Now it's completely the opposite. Now they want to...
If you think, you're a threat.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want you to know. And that's why they block us.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I don't know if there's going to be comments below. I have no idea how we're going to do this, guys, but, support us.
We have no clue, but like and subscribe if you do hear it. Peace out.
Peace.
Now I'm feeling the vibe of two wheels on the freeway, pushing the times. I realize life is short, but I'm ready to die. I don't mean suicidal, I just feel so alive. Even though I'm reminiscing on emotional ties, I just let the feeling flow when I get back to mine. Gotta get back to vibe.